According to Gallup, only about a third of the American workforce is fully engaged at work. A full half is merely not engaged, and almost 20% is actively undermining their employers. Can you imagine what it would be like if those numbers changed to be more engaged, what people could get done, what organizations could get done? Google did a study to find out what made a high-functioning team. There's a lot of teams in Google, and they wanted to find out why some of them were really doing a lot of great stuff and some of them were kind of not. Was it the number of men and women? Was it different departments being involved? What they discovered was that the teams in which everybody spoke about an equal amount over time were the ones that had the most high-functioning teams. They got the most done. They were most productive. So they needed to have a psychological safety to know that it was okay they were comfortable to speak up, and to know that their voices were desired in the meetings. And those teams were the ones that did the best. So I'm going to talk today about why it is so important to hear from everybody, because it does affect the functioning of the team, because it does help you make better decisions, because it affects the engagement level of your employees. And also why it is difficult to hear from everybody, what some of the things are that get in the way, and some of my ideas about how to overcome some of these obstacles and actually get to hear everybody in the room. So before I start talking, though, you all have packets of Lego bricks in front of you. This may seem like a non sequitur, but I promise I will tie it all together. If you could take the packet of Legos and dump it out, and I'm going to give you an instruction. So your assignment is to build a tower. So go ahead and build a tower with these Legos. So I have been studying communication and collaboration and connection for well over 20 years. It started out when I was a kid saying, what is this emotional connection that people are talking about and how do I get some? And then it extended from there into adulthood to try to figure out why some things seem to work better than others. In 2001, I got trained as a community mediator. So I helped disputants such as landlords and tenants or neighbors solve their problems on a panel of volunteer mediators. And a few years later, the organization developed a small claims court program. So I would actually go into the small claims court and in 20 or 30 minutes try to help the disputants solve their problem before they went to see the judge. Every single time that I mediated a problem, every single time I thought there's no way these people will ever come together. They are so entrenched in their opposite beliefs and their positions that there's no way they're going to be able to solve this problem. Luckily, I didn't listen to that voice. And I kept doing what I do, which is hold space and be non-judgmental and open and help people to find common ground. And little by little, they'd inch their way closer. Well, maybe I wasn't in my best frame of mind. Well, maybe I was being a little quick to judge. They could say, I'm sorry in mediation, which you can't do in court because that implies blame. But you can say, I'm sorry in mediation. So it was so amazing to me to see these people coming together in this way. But I knew mediation itself was not what I wanted to do in terms of career, as much as I loved it, but I knew that I wanted to include bringing people together in some way. So I was taking a class on how do you figure out what you want to do when you grow up, because I hadn't figured it out yet. And some very smart people said, you know, you bring to everything you do something that is as automatic as breathing, and you probably don't even value it at all because it is so just a part of what you do. And it turns out that what I do is bring play and creativity to everything. Just kind of automatically. I bring play to my hair. Everything I do, I bring play and creativity to it. So they encouraged me to start looking up play at work, and I discovered something called Lego Serious Play. I'll talk a little bit more about it in a little bit, but right now what I want to say about that is that Lego Serious Play really helps level the playing field. So you've got introverts and extroverts on equal footing. You've got the boss's model not really mattering more than anybody else's model. You have a chance for every voice to be heard because everybody in the room is building and everybody in the room is talking about what they built. People can think with their hands and listen with their eyes, and it just gives people a chance to be heard and valued and included in the decisions that get made. I thought this was brilliant. I love it. So this brings me to the Legos that you have in front of you. Should be mostly done with building a tower. So how many of you are going for height in your tower? Some of you? All right, how about for stability? Yeah? What about some kind of aesthetic quality, a symmetry or a stripiness or something? Awesome. Some of it was all of them, or two or three. So what I want to know is, I gave you all the same materials and the same instructions. Why don't all of your towers look the same? Because you're all different. Exactly. Because we all bring something to what we do that is innate to ourselves. This is the diversity of thinking made concrete. If you look around the room, there are no two towers that look the same. This is the diversity of thinking that you want to be able to capture when you have meetings. This is why you work with other people, because there's all this diversity of thinking available. So obviously, when you go into a meeting room and somebody says, okay, tell me all your best thoughts, everyone speaks up, right? Right. It doesn't usually work that way. So what happens if your boss says to you, okay, here's your materials and your instructions, go build a tower. And you build something that's kind of tall and spindly, and you bring it back to your boss, and your boss is like, no, it's supposed to be squat and solid. That is the definition of a tower. How often does that have to happen before you stop offering your own ideas? And maybe this happened to you well before you reached business. Maybe it happened in school when a teacher said to you, you can't make a snowman with 7 body parts or 1 body part. It has to have 3. That's the definition of a snowman. So a lot of us have learned over the years, don't bring any of yourself to the table. Don't show up too much because you're going to be told not to put that away. That doesn't matter. So why else do you think people might not want to speak up? What else gets in the way? Fear. There's all kinds of fears that come up. There's fear of saying something stupid. There's fear of feeling humiliated. There's fear of losing your job. That might not be founded, it might not be a realistic fear, but it's still there. Like, what happens if I say something that my boss thinks is really utterly idiotic? Will I still be able to afford my mortgage next month? There's also, I have a whole section in my book about the idea of social capital. The idea that there's only so long that people will listen to us, and so we have to kind of preserve that, like only spend it on the things that matter the most to us. Because if we spend it too freely, too soon, then maybe when something that really matters to us comes up, they'll say, oh, she's just being whatever, hysterical or angry or whatever the label is. There's a lot of ways that people feel like it can only be heard for so long, so I'm going to save it up until it's just the right moment. Harvard Business Review had an article about cascading, where they said that if somebody has an idea early and it gets a lot of early support, then nobody else wants to bring up anything against it, because it's like trying to move a waterfall. There's too much there to be able to try to shift it. So even if you feel very strongly about it, you might not even try to bring up the other ideas, just because there's such a strong cascade of support for it from the beginning. So we talked a little bit about this diversity of thinking and why it's so important to get everybody's ideas heard, and how this really supports the engagement of the employees to know that their voice matters. And it really supports the ability to make good decisions, to get more information from all of these points of view. and the things that get in the way, including a lot of different fears and complicated social dynamics that get in the way of actually having people speak up. So do you want to know what my solution to all of this is? Yes. Play. Yay. So I'm going to divide play into two sections. There is creative play, and there is intentional play. And I think creativity games and creative play really belongs in the workplace, and it's generally not put there. But the more you can set up a situation where there is no winning or losing, there's no right or wrong, that it gives people a chance to practice speaking up, in low-risk situations, to be able to bring out your voice, to be heard, without feeling like it's going to be, you're going to lose your job over it because it's work-related. This is just a game. We're playing a word game before the meeting starts, and so it's an easy way to start to get to just play with things a little bit and loosen up a little and get practice with being able to speak up. It also really gets us to exercise your creativity muscle, which Daniel Pink wrote a book called A Whole New Mind, in which he says everything that can be automated is being automated. Everything that can be done cheaper overseas is being sent overseas. And what we have left to work with is creativity and innovation. So doing creativity exercises in the workplace gives people a chance to exercise that creativity muscle, to be able to come up with better ideas, to come up with more ideas, to be able to be more flexible with the ideas, to be able to adapt them to the situations that come up, and be able to take all of these amazing, diverse ideas that are there and bring them into the real world and make them really work as a solution to the problems that we're facing in the world. And the other type of play that I think we need to bring into the workplace is more intentional play, which is a lot like Lego Serious Play. The Lego Serious Play gives us a chance to bring up some concepts that might be a little bit challenging because we only address questions to the model, not to the person who built the model. So it makes it a little bit safer to be able to bring up ideas. The Lego Corporation came up with Lego Serious Play. In the late 90s, they said, you know, we really support creativity for kids, but our own corporate meetings are anything but creative. So how can we bring some of this creativity that we really advocate into our own work? And so they hired some professors and they figured out ways to use the Legos in ways that really capture the way adult brains work, to be able to get the information and be able to bring it out in ways that are the least scary and the most inclusive ways possible. So hopefully you still have your towers and you haven't taken them apart yet. I would love it if you could modify your tower to make it be about you or your business. And this is the kind of starting to move in the direction of Lego Serious Play, where you can start telling stories with the models that you build. And one of the wonderful things is you don't have to be a great model builder, because all you need to do is have your model be a skeleton to hold your story. It's the story that matters, the story that you tell about it that matters, and nobody else can tell the story except you. So if somebody asks you about your model and says, so are the red bricks significant in there? And you say, no, I just needed some bricks at the bottom and to give it enough height, and the red was the closest, then that's the answer. And if you say, actually, the red bricks at the bottom represent really deep-seated anger that I've never told anybody about, but actually I really would like to kill all of you, then that's the answer. And it's something that can only come from the person who built it and not from anybody else. So I would love to have a brave soul tell us how it is that your tower represents you or your business. Yes.
So it's interesting, I actually started with, where can I put a flower? Because I'm a gardener and I love flowers. And so I designed it with the flower and the flag first because I was like, flowers! And then I included these on here because slides are fun. And who doesn't want to climb up their building? So I put the ladder here.
Great.
On a break, instead of, drinking coffee or chatting, in the break room, like, let's go out, climb up our building and like slide down.
Excellent.
Into stuff. But it's also very functional. It has a wide base. So it's set for earthquakes and any other natural disasters, right? There's a good bridge here, so there's some fun play architecture, and then it's intuitive, it's aware, and it has a good time and it likes what it sees. And this is all us, with our flags being very happy and proud of who we are authentically.
Awesome. That is amazing. So you could get thank you so much.
Sure.
You could get so much information into one of these models. You can tell such a big story about who you are and what your ideas are based on just these little Lego bricks. So thank you very much for having me here today. I would love to have a chance to talk to you about your own teams. I have a team engagement assessment if you're interested in finding out how your team functions, and if there's a way that I can support your team to be more functional, I would love to have the chance to have that conversation with you. So thank you very much.